For years, the supernatural has been at the forefront of my life. It has helped me better understand the world and shaped me to who I am today. Now, I've set off with a small crew to document one of life's greatest mysteries and challenge what we think we already know. So join us as we take you into the unknown. Beechworth, Victoria. Nestled in 3 hours north of Melbourne, the small town first hit relevance in the mid-1800s when gold fever took over. Over 8,000 miners from all walks of life flocked to scenic oasis in hope to struck the riches that Beechworth had to offer. With a vast majority of these miners coming from across the globe, this saw a heavy involvement from the likes of Chinese and American miners. Now home to over 3,000 locals, the town boasts a world-famous bakery and a unique preservation to its history. But we're here for something much darker. Only minutes from the town centre sits one of the most notorious buildings in the state, the Beechworth Mental Asylum. Opening in 1867 as Mayday Hills Asylum, Beechworth was among the largest in Victoria at the time, sitting on over 100 acres of land.
You know, you didn't have to be insane to be in here. In fact, it was likely, if you were in here, it wasn't likely that you were insane.
Really?
It was just you didn't fit into society.
The asylum closed its doors in 1995, putting an end to nearly 130 years of operation.
They were seen as that sin, that blight on society, so let's get them out of society, let's place them in here.
Housing some of the most violent and mentally unstable people in Victoria, it's no surprise that after 9,000 deaths, Beechworth is one of the most haunted places in the country.
And from there on, I knew something was with me. I tried to move, and that's as far as I got. It felt like I was frozen practically.
I've seen like hand marks on women's neck, as if I grabbed them and strangled them, but nobody had.
It's certainly in the top of the list of the most haunted locations in Australia.
Opening its doors in 1867, the asylum was developed to accommodate the ever-growing prison population of neighbouring penitentiaries. Admission to the asylum was questionable and often found those who were not ill at all being forced to live in this house of trauma. From serious admissions of murderers and schizophrenics, things as tame as an inability to speak English would see you banished from society and confined to the bleak existence within these walls. Local tour guide and historian Leah Roach gave us the backstory of this old and notorious facility.
Well, the asylum was opened in 1867 and it was built to take the overflow from Victoria's many overcrowded jails, as well as the Yarrabend Asylum down in Melbourne, which was very, very overcrowded. So this asylum opened in conjunction with Kew and also Ararat Asylum.
Sitting on a hill overlooking the town of Beechworth, it was believed that the winds of the higher altitudes could work wonders on the patients and blow any insanity out of their minds. What was the process for getting sent into a place like Beechworth?
Well, essentially you needed only 2 signatures, so 2 people of local authority, so a police officer and a doctor. Sometimes, often husbands who wanted to drop their wives off here could sign them as well and have a police officer or a local doctor say that yes, they need to be in.
With medication not being introduced to the asylum until the 1950s, this meant that treatment was by means of restraints, often resulting in violence and torture, and doing more bad than good.
Life for patients here is a little bit unknown. Obviously paperwork in the 1800s wasn't the most pressing thing that they wanted to do, and there were a lot of things that they obviously wouldn't have recorded for whatever reason, be it they didn't have time, or perhaps it was a questionable action that they had done. The asylum was what we call self-sufficient, so they had 200 acres and everything they needed was found here. So over the 200 acreage they had farms, crops, orchards, anything they needed was here on site, and the patients that were most trusted were put to work. We do know of a staff member here called Matron Sharp. She was our 3rd matron, and we believe that she's still around today because of how fiercely protective she was of her patients. She introduced in the 1800s music therapy, pet therapy and furnishing for her female patients. So we consider that to be quite revolutionary. It was really unheard of in that time period. But her belief was that she was going to care for her patients to the best of her ability, regardless of why they were put in. So you do have as many patients that were mistreated by staff, you do have your staff members that tried their absolute best to look after and care for their
You saw them
patients.
as people and not just
That's
these
right.
numbers who were insane by whatever means.
That's it, yeah.
Do you think that her spirit is still here? Or-
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have had many sightings of a woman in white. I've actually seen her apparition myself on the very first night I'd ever come to this asylum. I was standing in the hall and saw a woman in white walk past the window, and I turned to the person who was running the establishment at the time and I said, "Oh, who's dressed up as the nurse tonight?" And she's, what are you talking about? I said, "Oh, no, I literally just saw this woman, she had this costume." No, I think you might have just seen the matron. We find here on a lot of the hauntings, patients seem to be stuck here because of that fear of moving on.
Do you think that maybe they, as you said, they still think that they are in the 1800s or the 1900s, and obviously when you're in a place like this or a prison or any kind of place when you're locked in, the fear of running away and getting out, do you still think that they feel that fear that I can't get out because this is where I'm locked in?
Yeah,
Just the general...
definitely.
To get a better idea of what life was like inside the asylum, we met with Matt Hardinge, who knows the asylum better than anyone.
This is the ball pit. This building was built in the 1870s to house the overflow of young males. So the reason for boys being in here, Down syndrome, epilepsy, ADHD, autism, and the overflow of the jails. So double story, held roughly anywhere between 80 to 120 boys at a time.
Yep.
Varying conditions.
Yep.
Was built for the ages of 13 to 26. We've got records that state as young as 6, as old as 28 in here.
And were these just boys who were in here for homelessness or whatever reason, or are these dangerous people who couldn't be in society?
Well, a bit of both.
Yeah.
Because you've got the overflow from the criminals from the jails, but you can't have the boys with the men because obvious reasons.
Yep.
But then the same thing here was you've got boys that mum and dad didn't want. Up here and downstairs are both quite active.
Yeah.
Up here, as yet, we haven't got anyone's name.
Okay.
But a lot of the times, down in this back room, we have people being spoken to in the ears. We have clapping noise, knocking noise, doors being tapped on, glass being tapped on, footsteps. So
you are getting intelligent responses up here?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everything through Beechworth is intelligent.
Really?
Everything will interact, they'll make things light up, they'll talk. I've actually been doing this 16 years.
16 years.
As in investigating for 16 years. This place by far is the most active that I've ever been in for like the constant talkings and everything like that.
Really?
I've never had a night here that something has not happened or no one has spoken to us.
So Beechworth is the real deal?
In my opinion, absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of bad things would have happened here to a lot of these younger boys.
Things like...
You would have had
violence or-
sexual assault, you would have had the violence. You know, like I said, that whole prison hierarchy, if you want us to think more of you, then you're going to have to go and like punch him in the face or something like that. And it just creates that, almost like a prison system, is the easiest way to put it. And it becomes that sort of, that total tenseness all the time. You're on guard all the time, and not knowing what's going to happen, looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
When do you relax?
And so for a
you're
young
not
boy
too
to come in here, it is like a prison.
In essence,
Yeah.
So this is actually what we call the 80s kitchen. It was built in the 1980s to literally make every meal for staff and patients, which is why it looks new. The brown bricks, so on and so forth, stainless steel benches, everything like that. In this particular area, we actually have quite a few spirits that we've spoken to. Carole and Benjamin are our two big players in here.
Are they just around this area, or are they...
Benjamin, we call that Benjamin's Corner. Benjamin's only about 8 years old, so we don't even know why he's in this particular part. Through conversations we've had, he said he was in the ball pit, he got out, he ended up in here. There is a link, we haven't figured out what that link is yet. Benjamin has been known to scratch.
Maliciously or playfully?
Not really playfully, but not trying to gouge your eyes out either, sort of thing. It's just more of a letting you know that he's here. He does also tend to tap the divides. He does also knock on the ceiling. When you can ask him, if you're here, can you make a noise? We often hear a knock somewhere on the ceiling to give us an indication. I don't know if you've ever seen the horror movie Mama. No? Okay. Next time you want to watch a horror movie, watch Mama. Okay. And the woman in that kind of does like a backwards bridge and runs across the floor. So a lot of people say that Benjamin do that out there.
Young boy.
Yeah, he runs at people. So Ben will actually, just to put you on edge, he'll run at you just to make you freak out. To see him, to actually see, when I show you this photo, when you see the photo, when you look at him, he looks like something out of Children of the Corn. He kind of tilts his head and he's got this very, there's something very strange about him.
He's just the perfect recipe for an asylum haunting.
Pretty much. I had a girl scratched across the chest here.
From what you think is
Benjamin? Benjamin, yep. He's admitted to it, well, through the ghost meters, through the conversations, he's admitted to it.
This little kid is actually doing a bit of damage and he's really frightening people.
A little bit.
Yeah.
He's not sweet and innocent. So this is Grevillea. This was the building of the male infirmary. After it was the male infirmary, it was a mental disability ward. So that's where it spent the last few years of its life. So this particular room was infectious disease. It was also the room that had all the beds where they would run around and do things like electroshock therapy and
in this room right here,
lobotomy and that sort of thing was all done in here. So out of the 9,000 recorded deaths in Beechworth, over 3,000 happened in this building.
And as a result of all these treatments and all these deaths, how does this building weigh up as far as activity goes?
Look, there's a lot of anger in here. Down in the back corners and down in that hallway, there's spirits around that really make people feel uncomfortable. A lot of people have emotional reactions in here. They get very overwhelmed, teary, nauseous, name it, headaches. Haunting Australia came in here quite a few years ago and they have a picture of a little girl here standing with a teddy bear. On the other hallway that we'll go into in a minute, there's the shadow figure that was taken only recently. Of 3 photos were taken and 2 of them are blank and then one shows the outline of what looks like a male standing down the end of the corridor. So that's the sort of things that happen in here. It tends to be high energy, high noise, footsteps, doors.
This is the place to be.
It's one of those buildings that's really, it's got a very interesting atmosphere, especially at the night time.
To better understand the true horrors of Beechworth and the impact that the hauntings have had on visitors over the years, we caught up with Luke, who suffered at the hands of an evil entity at Beechworth not only a year ago.
I'm here with Luke. Luke had a pretty interesting experience here a couple of months ago, which instantly grabbed my attention. Luke, could you tell us what happened?
Yeah, so I was here on a tour one night and we were just standing there casually and I felt really cold and I asked to leave the room and everybody was ahead of me, I was behind, and when I started to leave the room and up the stairs, I felt a lunge into my back and was scratched very viciously and it was very hard.
And which room was this in?
This was in the cellar.
That was the very first part of the asylum that was built. It was the opening build. They built that before they built anything over the top of it, and the prisoners that helped build this place were kept in the cellar overnight to save taking them back down to the jail and then bringing them back up the next morning.
Okay.
So they'd work all day, they'd be locked in the cellar overnight, probably fed some scraps and then put to work again the next day. So I'm not sure what it would have been like in those celled areas overnight with no guards watching or anything, and just a massive prisoners stuffed in there amongst each other.
Probably lots of tension.
Probably lots of tension, maybe fights or God knows what happened.
Alright, so look, here we are in another cellar where it happened.
Yeah.
Could you tell us in a bit more in depth what happened on another night?
Yeah, so we came down here into the cellar and came down these steps. Everything was fine at the time. We were just standing in this room, just talking about the cellar all normally. And we've just walked into that room, just off to there.
One of the boys that we had on tour, the boy from the ghost tour who got scratched, was actually down in this area when he got scratched. He was actually in this room. I believe he was standing in that corner.
I had my mum here. My older brother was there. My younger brother there. And the tour guide was there. I was standing just here in this exact spot, and I tell you what, this is a weird feeling right now.
When we quizzed him about it, he said it felt like someone grabbed his arm.
The window was actually closed, and that's when I felt it was like a cold feeling like this was going down my arm. And from there on, I knew something was with me. I tried to move, and that's as far as I got. It felt like I was frozen practically. And I said, something's not right, turn on the light. A tour guide turned on her torch and felt my arm, and she said we need to leave. That's when she turned the light on, and as we started to walk out, that's when it was just like, it was there behind me.
It was real.
Yeah. Everybody walked out and headed up the stairs, and I was behind. I got to the first step, and I felt something come up behind me. I then got to the third step, and that's when it felt like something pushed me, and then grabbed and yanked all the way down to my shoulder blades, down to my lower back. And I felt my jumper feeling like it was trying to keep me here.
Okay.
And yeah, I've never run up a set of stairs so quick in my life.
Now when you see these scratches, they're from shoulder blade to lower back. So, and it's like it's a full, like 2 hands down the back.
It's more than just...
He couldn't do it to himself. It is humanly impossible to be able to scratch in that pattern with the redness and actually breaking the skin.
With the picture of Luke's back being posted onto Facebook, it sent social media into meltdown, being viewed by over 4,000 people and counting.
So, Luke, I want to ask you something. Would you be willing to maybe spend a few minutes down here by yourself and maybe talk to whoever might have tried to make contact with you for 5-10 minutes?
I'd actually like to give it a go. Try to reach out.
Yeah.
I want to know if he's there to be a friend, or I want to know if he was there to actually do something else.
Awesome.
I'd like to find out.
Let's set it up.
For Luke's solo investigation of the cellar, we will be setting up 2 night vision cameras. One in the cell where he was first touched, and the other in the open area of the cellar.
Alright, Luke, we'll leave you alone for 10 minutes. If you need us, just call us on the walkie-talkies and we'll come down.
No worries.
Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
While Luke is in the cellar alone, we will patiently wait for him upstairs.
This is Luke Clifford. I'm the boy that was scratched in here. I would like to know if anybody is in here and if anybody did something to me that night. I come as a friend. I just want to know if you are in here. I will admit, this is a pretty spooky place. It does feel very, very strange. I feel very isolated. I do not mean harm. I would just like to know, when I was standing in this corner, right here, Why did you touch me?
From Luke's 15-minute investigation of the cellar, we received no visual or audio evidence to suggest any paranormal activity, but what we later experienced that night will chill us to the bone. Alright, so we're just getting ready to do our investigation now. So it's going to be myself and Josh, who's behind the camera, and we're going to start off in the bull pit. Alright, so this is the bull pit here. It's the first room of the investigation. What we like to do usually is just to walk around for a bit, not try to do anything too exciting. Just let them try to find us and just get a real feel for the place. Having housed the most violent male patients at Beechworth, the bull pit is known for its negative effects it has on those who dare to enter.
A lot of bad things would have happened here to a lot of these younger boys, almost like a prison system.
So,
Good. So, fast stuff.
Is this where the bathroom is?
Yeah, bathroom to the left. Yeah, that's what I was trying to find. Do you want to go in that room? The one on the left?
Yeah, we can go in there.
Sorry?
Maybe immunity?
Yeah, maybe.
Is there anyone in here with me? If there is, can you make a sound?
I just fucking heard something.
We're 2 hours into our investigation of the bull pit, where we believe the spirit of a patient has tried to make first contact.
Is there anyone in here with me? If there is, can you make a sound?
I just fucking heard something. Jesus Christ. I swear to fucking God I heard
What
something.
did it sound like? So I heard some, it almost sounded like whispering.
Yeah, it was like a... What's that? Fucking
I
hell.
don't know, I heard something.
It was right behind me.
It was behind you? I know that it came from out here.
As soon as you asked that, it was like right behind my right. It was like right behind my right. Yep. It was like or like someone pulling like dragging like a piece of paper down something. It was just like a soft sound.
Fuck, I got the goosebumps right now.
Yeah, me too. I have goosebumps.
All my hairs are standing up.
While we cannot prove or disprove this to be an authentic paranormal occurrence, let's recount the events. When Josh asks to make a sound to signify a presence, I clearly hear what sounds like breathing behind my right ear.
We have people being spoken to in the ears.
Seconds after, a strange light is captured coming from behind my right side and turning out of the doorway. We can disprove this as not being dust, as dust will follow a straight path and not turn on a corner as this light seems to do. Moments later, Josh notices that the hairs on his arms are standing on end. It is widely believed that when you are around the presence of a spirit, your body will react to the energy that they give off, much to the same effect as when you place your hand on an old TV to watch your hair react to the static electricity. With quick success in the bull pit, we decide to conduct our first experiment of the night with the SB7 spirit box. So I was going to try and use the spirit box here. What this does is it goes through radio frequencies very, very fast. It creates a white noise, and it's believed that spirits can manipulate that white noise to speak through it, much like a loudspeaker. Can you come through the spirit box and say something if anyone's up here?
What was that?
Freddy.
Freddy?
It said Freddy. Go. Is Freddy in here? How many spirits are in here right now with us?
Two. I heard two.
It said two.
That said two.
Oh, okay, are there two spirits in here? Are you a boy or a man? Boy,
I heard
did
boy.
you hear that?
I heard that. That was clear.
That was clear. To make this sequence of events even more compelling, when introducing the spirit box, a strange light is captured from the room where I just heard the breathing. So I was going to try and use the spirit box here. Notice how all of the responses are intelligent, meaning that they hold relevance and are conscious to what we are asking. How many spirits are in here right now with us?
Two.
To add to the validity, the voices coming through are all male voices, to what sound to be Australian accents.
Two.
To top off this truly incredible session, when asked if we were talking to a man or a boy, clear as day, a voice of a young child comes through and says, "Boy,
I heard
did
boy.
you hear that?"
I heard that.
Having had great success in the bull pit, it was time to turn our attention to the next location of the night, the kitchen.
I can't see anything in here.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? No, what was it? I just can't see where I'm going right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
It sounds like wet over there.
Can we just try and find where that noise is coming from? Just so we can get
the tap's on. Look at
that would explain it.
that. Why is
It's
that tap
actually
on?
like,
It's properly on.
that's really weird. Wait. What the? Wait, Did you?
What? What? I'm feeling something right now.
Did you not just grab me?
No. I'm feeling
Something
I'm
like-
feeling energy right now.
Something pulled on, like the walkie-talkie.
I can feel energy right now.
I genuinely thought that was you.
Dude, I'm feeling something right now.
Just as I went to turn off this tap, it was like something tried to grab me. It won't.
Dude, I don't know what it is, my fucking heart's beating really hard.
I swear to God, something just went to grab me. Just on my right pocket, I just felt a tug.
Like, before you even said that, I started feeling like nervous, and like I'm not reacting to you doing that, like freaking myself out, but I genuinely feel like really fucking panicky right now.
That was so weird.
And like I swear it's not because of you saying you got touched, because I felt it before you. Like I feel like I'm fucking shaking, and I'm not cold at all, I'm quite warm.
What I'm feeling at this exact moment can only be compared to as when you first get off a roller coaster at an amusement park. I'm suddenly hit with a burst of adrenaline, heart pounding and body shaking, for no logical reason. Notice the trembling and heavy panting in my voice.
I don't know what it is, my fucking heart's beating really hard.
We've walked no more than 40 metres, but something has caused my body to have this physical reaction. It is at this exact same time that Josh feels something grab for his pocket.
I genuinely thought that was you. See, it didn't feel negative to me. It felt like it was just something like trying to stop me from turning off that tap.
I heard that.
That didn't sound like a raindrop.
That didn't sound like rain.
Is someone in here with us? Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
I heard like a little voice before that came through.
Due to the ongoing activity around the kitchen, we decide to set up an electromagnetic field detector.
So what I've got here in my hand is an EMF reader. It'll make a noise when something comes in close contact with it to let us know that a spirit may be nearby. If there's someone in here with us right now, can you come make your presence known by coming near this box here that we have here? Come to the green light. Can you touch the metal pole coming from this device here?
With no further success in the kitchen, we decide to set up a static night vision camera and move on to the next location.
Alright, so we're in Grevillea now. This is where over 3,000 of the patients died here. This is the room where Matt took us in and told us about the electrotherapy, which they did in this very room.
It was also the room that had all the beds where they would run around and do things like electroshock therapy.
This is said to be one of the most haunted places in the actual asylum. So let's see how we go. Just keep me updated with your camera time, Josh.
Yeah.
I think I might have just seen a shadow go past here.
Walking into the open area of Grevillea, I believe I've seen a shadow moving off the morgue and into the wall. However, later reviewing the footage, we find that as Josh moves behind me, his light causes my body to cast a shadow and onto the morgue.
Keep updated with your camera time, Josh.
It's only seconds later, as Josh pans across one of the middle rooms of Grevillea, that we capture what appears to be a human-like figure standing between the two doors. The figure in the room seems to have a head, neck, and body. The lights you see behind the figure are coming from Josh's camera, whose shadow is accounted for, as this figure is in front of the light, not behind. We can also confirm this has not been an outside object, as what appears to be this figure's left shoulder is blocking out the bottom corner of the far door's window, suggesting that whatever this is inside the small room. Looking over the daytime footage of this exact same room, there is nothing physical in this room to create the shadow, only the shelf, a whiteboard, and a soft toy. While we cannot definitively prove that this is the spirit of a patient, there is absolutely no logical explanation for this figure.
Okay, so this door's open on the left, so don't instantly go left because you'll walk into the door.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay. Hey. What?
They always bang away from you. Something back down there in the bank.
Yeah.
So,
Whoa. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
No.
Just as you were saying that, I heard a bang from down the hallway.
Really?
Yeah. I hope my camera picked that up. That wasn't any raindrops, that wasn't anything. That was a bang. It was very light, but it was a bang.
Like a door.
It was
Yeah.
like something hitting the ground. Like a little pebble or a stone or something.
Yeah. Is that the door?
That was the door. It was that door, not the
Left or
one
right?
on the right.
The one on the right?
Yeah.
Oh, I saw an orb come out of that room.
With the sudden spike in activity, we decide to set up an experiment on the autopsy table, using a voice recorder, an electromagnetic field reader, and an Ovilus, an electro-word database where it is alleged that spirits can tamper with the surrounding environments to produce words visually and audibly. So we've got three pieces of equipment here. We've got the Ovilus, we've got the digital recorder, and we have the Parastrip set up. So we're going to try all three, and hopefully if we get a chain reaction here, we can some solid evidence. If anyone's in here with us right now, come to these lights. Use them to communicate with us. How long did you spend here?
Draw.
Whoa.
What did it say?
Draw. Draw.
Draw. You gonna draw something for us?
Well, this was the sunroom. Maybe this is the room where they used to do drawings in?
Maybe. Is this the room where you used to do the drawings in? With no further pieces of communication, we decide to pack up and head off to the last location of the night. It's just ticked over 3 a.m. and we're heading into the cellar, where earlier we spoke to Luke, a victim of a violent attack at the hands of a malicious entity who is said to haunt this area.
Something pushed me and then grabbed and yanked all the way down to my shoulder blades, down to my lower back.
Being in here on our own, I'll be lying if I said I wasn't just a little bit nervous after hearing all of the stories that have happened down here.
When you see these scratches, they're from shoulder blade to lower back.
I've never run up a set of stairs so quick in my life.
I'm sorry to call that. You on your digital recorder? Yeah. Okay. Alright, so I've got the recorder with us right now, and right now I'm standing exactly where Luke was, right when he got scratched. So we're going to start an EVP session and hopefully find out why and what happened. Do you remember Luke? That was me. Okay. What is your name? Why did you scratch Luke? I just want to listen back to this.
Not having any luck with our EVP session, we decide to head back into the open area where we turn our attention to the stairs. It is said that whatever haunts this cellar is very territorial of the stairs and will often attack people as they try to leave.
Alright, so we have the spirit box here and we have the periscope up on the stairs. Alright, so my name is Tama, I'm here with Josh. We're not down here for any trouble, we don't want to cause any harm to you. So I'm going to ask you some questions. That's going on. Whoa. It's the first time it's going off all night. Let it go all night. It's the first time it's going off as soon as I say hi.
What makes this so compelling is that for the whole night we've set up these EMF meters around the asylum with no success. However, as soon as we put it on the very haunted stairs of the cellar, we get a response right away. When looking over the static camera, we see that it only takes a matter of seconds before something causes the meter to go off.
Alright, so we've got the spirit box here.
Notice how the more I talk, the stronger the energy current is going through the EMF, suggesting that whatever this is either getting closer or getting stronger.
Alright, so we've got the spirit box here and we have a... What is that spirit? Periscope. Alright, so we have the spirit box here and we have the periscope up on the stairs. Alright, so my name is Tama, I'm here with Josh. We're not down here for any trouble, we don't want to cause any harm to you. So I'm going to ask you some questions. That's going on. Whoa.
It's not until I notice this that Josh pans the camera and the light suddenly seems to vanish.
We don't want to cause any harm to you. So I'm going to ask you some questions. That's going on. Whoa.
It's as if whatever is in here is watching us from the stairs, getting closer and closer until it grabs our attention and then disappears. With no voices coming through the spirit box, we place an Ovilus on the stairs with the EMF and conduct our second and final EVP session of the cellar.
Is there anyone down here? We haven't heard your voice yet. You can speak into this red light. down here? What year did you arrive here? Just gonna listen back. Whoa, fuck. What? Fucking hell. Oh, fuck. What was it? Fucking hell. What just happened? I was just getting a wide shot of you against. Oh, fuck. Let's get a good person.
When filming Josh going over his EVP session, I clearly feel something tug on the hood of my jumper from behind my head. What I feel isn't aggressive, but it's enough to leave me in a state of panic.
Out here, a lot of the time it feels like someone actually pulls on your clothes, so you get that tugging sensation.
Did you just make a sound behind my head? Did you hear that?
It sounded like the rain.
I heard something down there. No, it didn't sound like rain. Help and deal. But the most recent one is help. Were they talking about me asking for help? Because I thought I got touched. Well, you said... Who was that just made that sound behind my ear? And then it said help. Was I asking for help? I don't know. Maybe they're asking for help.
We travelled across the state to see if the Beechworth Mental Asylum lived up to all that we had heard. We heard the stories of its victims
Felt a lunge into my back and was scratched very viciously.
and experienced the hauntings firsthand.
Did you not just grab me?
No.
It was like right behind me.
Yeah.
Many who entered the asylum were never to return to society. Maybe that's why some are still angry,
Oh, fuck.
while others are trying to make contact.
Boy!